welcome to this very short video. This is the M5 Aviation Products crankshaft tester for Rotax two-stroke engines. I'm just going to show you, this is out of its box now. You would have received it in a box. These are the component parts, and so the first thing you have to do is take your dial gauge and remove the anvil from the end. You may possibly need a pair of pliers for this, but hopefully not. You then fit this into the extension piece, which is this section here. Screw that into the end of the dial gauge, the DTI. So, and then this you just place this in the end of the actual unit, gently press it in. There's an O-ring in here which seals it, and then just secure it with this knurled screw. And this is now ready for operation. Okay, so basically you just need a plug spanner for this job, and of course a notebook and pen which you record your results on. Okay, so we've removed the plug and we're now inserting this tool. This is never very convenient, so you need to hold it in one hand while you turn this round until you've screwed it in properly. Make sure you haven't cross-threaded it. As you can see, we get into all sorts of a mess, but it's just the way it goes. And that's it. So you can now just move this around until it's convenient for you to read it. Tighten that up. And then what we need to do now is to actually rotate the cylinder until this comes up to top dead center. Just bring it up there. And then zero the gauge, like so. Okay, sorry, so it's moved one little bit more, right. Zero it to here. And then with the syringe, just pump and read the measurement. So what we're seeing here is about 0.04, and that is the accumulated. All right, well actually we're moving the prop now, but it was about 0.04. So just take a second reading, come to here, and again 0.4. Now 0.4 is actually a very good measurement, but you'll have found that out in your manual. Okay, so I've installed this into the second cylinder now. As a tip, you might find it a lot easier to turn this spiral this cable around the tool when you're screwing it in. It's a particularly cumbersome thing to try and do. So anyway, here we are. I'm now going to bring the piston up to top dead center again. And there we are at top dead center. So we now want to zero this. You may need to do this 2 or 3 times if the prop has moved like it just has. So there it is now at top dead. I'm going to bring this up and call it top dead center. Same trick with the syringe, and you can see this is actually moving the propeller. In fact, often you need to find another way of clamping the engine, clamping the crank rather. But anyway, so I've zeroed it again, and actually that's a little less than. That's actually a little less than 0.4. It's about that's 0.03 of a millimeter, which is actually extremely good. Now, there's a second point here. Because these plugs are angled, again, if you read in your instructions, you'll see that because of the angle, the reading is false. What you need to do is apply the sine of the angle difference between vertical, perpendicular, and the plug. Now, this is 30 degrees, and so it's the sine of 30 multiplied by this reading. It actually reduces the reading. So these are really very good cylinders. There's virtually no play in either of them. Happy days. So from this point on, what you need to do is to record these onto a piece of graph paper, and then whenever you change your plugs or take the plugs out for inspection, I think 25 hours is probably the accepted amount, record these readings on a graph paper, and providing those readings don't change by much, and they will change a little because as you can see, it's slightly arbitrary, this, but it's still good enough for what we want to do when we're looking at crankshaft wear. So you keep a graph going for every change. If you notice one cylinder changing and the gaps are getting bigger, reduce the frequency at which you do this test. I would suggest going from 25 hours down to 10 if you see a significant change of, say, 0.02 of a millimeter. You should then be able to run the engine a bit longer before you reach a point where you've got to overhaul. That's a subjective judgment. I suggest you don't leave it too late. Anyway, thank you. This is the M5 Aviation Products crankshaft tester for Rotax 2-strokes. Thank you.